Willow Street, Henry Street. They like a bigger project. So if you know where the roundabout is, to the west, the football field at high school.
Okay,
Yep. We're gonna redo all that.
last time I drove down and I was like,
Yeah.
this is garbage.
Yeah. We wanted to go all the way to Minnesota Avenue.
Yeah. That can be,
Thank you. You have any show tonight, Tyson? Something like that. I was gonna read off the memos, because I was the whole.
Okay, I just got a text too, so, okay.
It's it's a little aggressive, I think, they're growing fast.
Yep.
About time you have him your keep here.
Yeah, 5 lane makes sense.
I practice my mirror
It'll
console.
be a little overkill.
Yeah.
For a few years.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Right.
It's not funny, it just won't be the time.
Yeah.
Evening. Gavel's missing. I don't know where the gavel is. Oh, there it is, the gavel board.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome, everybody. Do we have any, Tyson, do you know if there, or do we have any changes to the agenda this evening?
Nope.
All right, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second?
All right, motion a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to visitors to be heard. There's someone from our community here like to come up and share. Please do. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Jim Tibbet, 46581 287th Street, Lenox. I had a question on the maps that were printed out in regard to, I guess, the Cleveland multi-use trail extension, and also a question on the storm sewer. So I guess I can either bring that up now, or when you get to that part in your agenda, I'll address it at that time.
With the capital improvement plan?
Yes.
Okay, to that, okay. That sounds good. If you'd like to just, since you're up here, I would just share some of your questions, and then We have Mitch here from Stockwell that can probably answer for you, and then Nate's on the phone call too, but you wanna
Yeah,
go
I'll
ahead?
wait till you get that far.
We'll wait, okay, that's fine.
That's all right with
Yep.
you?
Yep, that'll work,
Okay,
Jim,
thank
thanks.
you.
All right, no other visitors to be heard. So we'll move to the consent agenda. Tyson, anything that on here you'd like to draw attention to this evening?
Yeah, at 3.5, we have the agreements with Arrow, for the ambulance purchase that was approved last meeting. This is just the actual agreement to get that rolling, and then the SDPAA agreement. It's an amended intergovernmental agreement from the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. We've been a member with SDPAA for some time, using their insurance pool to bring down liability insurance costs for the city. They've just updated the agreement for participation in the insurance pool and asked that we sign the agreement.
Okay. Discussion, questions from council?
I'm excited that we got the price break that we did with Remount, as that was originally their chassis, so nice work on our team's part in getting that accomplished. That 30,000 under what we expected is a nice windfall.
Good surprise.
Yeah, that's great. And I was curious on the SDPAA agreement. I know we're satisfied with what they've provided. Are there rate restructures with that as well, or is it simply carrying forward with the same agreement?
Nathan?
Thanks, Bill. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
The changes that they are proposing in this agreement, bear with me, I'm trying to pull it up on my iPad here. There was just two minor changes that are included at the bottom of the first page, I believe.
I saw those. I was just curious if there was anything I'm missing, because it seems very basic.
Very basic, yeah. No changes to the fee structure or anything like that. Our rates over the years have gone up. I think when I first started, we were probably at about 50,000 a year. And now we're probably closer to 80,000 a year. That's not unusual, particularly when I first started. One of the first things I had to do was go through our inventory, and there was a lot of stuff that wasn't on there, for example. And every year we have to add new equipment, take them off. We've got more vehicles now. We've got more assets at the wastewater plant, for example. So that's pretty normal.
Thank you.
Other discussion?
Oriole Ave is slated to be bid by the end of the month. Is that still on schedule?
Advertised.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. We feel confident that the bidding market will allow for some competitive bidding.
Yes.
Good.
Very much.
Any other discussion? I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any last discussion? Not, we'll do roll call this evening. Welch?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Swear?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Doherty?
Aye.
Teasy?
Aye.
Okay, and motion carries. On to 4, new business 4.1, we have the amended capital improvement plan. We'll just have Mitch kick it off then, and,
Works for me.
Yeah.
okay?
Nate, maybe you wanna kick it off. I don't know, did you have anything that you wanted to say right away? Maybe not.
Nate, did you have anything with the capital improvement plan, the amended capital improvement plan, that you wanna kick it off right away, or should we just have Mitch dive in?
John, Mitch can go ahead and step in. The big stuff here is that the only big change from what most of the council has seen in the past is that we're not including the funding mechanism for these projects on this version of the CIP amendment. We certainly can do that, but I think I would prefer some flexibility in that, given how things have changed over the past 2 years, particularly with SRF interest rates. I think keeping those options open is probably a good idea for us this time.
Okay. Well, I can go through and just highlight just kind of big picture of the projects a little bit, if you will, and kind of some of the ideas around some of these projects. But it sounded like what Nate had communicated to me is, you know, the desire of the council to really target some of these streets that are remaining that are still gravel. So that's kind of what we approached to begin with. So a lot of these, if you go to the bottom of, I'm looking at the map that has the projects identified on there. And if you go to the bottom of it, there's a key that has projects 1 through 13. I'm a little handicapped here, I'm trying to do this on my phone. First project, they're kind of in order of an anticipated year, and as you get to the end of the list, we really don't have a year program for some of these projects. That's still quite a bit up in the air. But they are projects that we know we want to get to at some point, so we keep them on the map so that we can have them identified. The first project there is Oriole Avenue, scheduled for 2026. That's the project that we're looking to advertise here by the end of the month and have a contractor on board to do that work this summer. Project number 2 is 4th Avenue improvements. You go out there now between Cleveland and, is it not Blaine?
Harrison.
I think it's the next one, McKinley.
Okay.
I think McKinley there, that's where we left off with our Central Basin Phase 1 project years ago. And it's from there west, it's all gravel. And there's another stub road there that we'd like to do as well while we're doing that project. Another thing with that project that we want to get done is we probably need to have an outfall for the storm sewer. So we established an outfall further south when we did Central Basin 1. We like to tie those together. So it's a little deceiving that way that we probably will need to look at doing a storm sewer system that goes down to Long Creek to be able to discharge that drainage from that roadway. And so that we can get it deep enough so that we can effectively help that corridor. And that might be maybe a question Jim was alluding to. Third project, we've labeled it as Central Basin Phase 5. I think Nate said we need to name it something different because he was done with Central Basin projects. But it is kind of a continuation of the same type of project that we've been doing in the area. Those roads, there's a few gravel ones in there. There's a few blotter coats still in there. The drainage is poor. Sanitary sewer has some deficiencies in it as well. So that's a full rehab type project. Both 4th Avenue and Central Basin Phase 5 we've identified in 27 construction. The next project number 4 is Northeast Basin improvements. There again is something, the roads up in that area, there's some gravel roads, some blotter coated roads, some aged underground utilities. And so another type of reconstruction project that we're planning in 28. Personally, I'd like to try to do all projects 2 through 4 with one contractor, just like we did in Central Basin 4. If you remember, we did that over 2 years. It's good to get a nice big project for a contractor to stay here and be able to work, and we just get so much more cost effectiveness when we did those big, larger projects. If we're to accomplish that, that's probably the ones that Nate and I, if this is approved, we'll be focusing in on getting funding in order, because if we really want to start doing some of this work in 27, we need to get applications into the state so we can get funding in order for that project, for us to design ahead of that project and have it ready for bid in 27. Cleveland Multi-Use Trail, that's a project that we've discussed over the years. That would tie into the trail that left off along Highway 44 at Blaine. It would wrap around Long Creek and hopefully tie into 4th Avenue. If you remember, we extended the culvert on that east side of that project so that we could accommodate a crossing there. That project will take cooperation from landowners, and I believe Nate's had some preliminary conversations in the past with a few of them. Project number 6 is North Main Street reconstruction. Targeted that for 2029. Main Street on the north end could use some repairs. There's no curb and gutter there. The drainage is kind of poor in a few areas. The sanitary sewer system, there's some large deficiencies on the sanitary sewer videos that we have. Just some open gaping voids in some of the locations. So we'd like to get that, as well as, we left the sewer on 4th Street, that's where we extended to with our Central Basin Phase 3 project. We'd like to tie into that and extend it up north so we can gain the elevation that we left at that intersection. It's questionable whether that project would include a downtown rehab. I think that's a thought right now, but we haven't really dove into exactly what the scope of that project would be. I'd at least like to get the sewer brought through, and if we're bringing the sewer through, it starts to maybe make sense to look at rehabbing the downtown area. 4th Avenue sewer repairs is a small sewer project where we videoed the entire town, and we have a map that shows where the most efficient areas are, and this area on 4th Street happens to be one of the more deficient areas. It's enough where we can't really do any local spot repairs. We feel like we need to pull that sewer out of that whole block, or a couple blocks there, and redo it. Again, while we're there, we'll probably look at doing some gutter improvements and those things. That's also programmed for 29. Southwest Basin improvements, that's Elm Street. We have that program for 2028. We have some drainage issues. And there's been complaints of drainage issues for many years down there. And I know the city has been wanting to get to that project, so hopefully we can get to that in 28. The Northwest Utility Extension is a project that we've talked about just to serve with some of the development that's occurring up in that area with the Nelson Addition and the Creekside Addition. It would be helpful to extend utilities up into that area to help serve those properties, but as well as the Dannon property, if you're familiar. I think they just hate it now. There's a nice piece of ground there that if we could get some service to, it might be attractive to the developer or the development corporation group. That project is to be determined. Highway 44 water main extension is extending water main from from Oriole Avenue down to the lumberyard. Currently, they're running off of rural water, and we'd like to get service to them down there eventually. And if anybody else comes along in that quarter of to the west, then we certainly would want to have that water main in place. Project 11 is a northeast lift station and sewer extension. There's been some interest from developers in the ground northeast of town for possible development. To really make it serviceable, there needs to be probably a downstream lift station and some infrastructure extended that direction to make it more viable. We do have a lift station already in that area along Highway 44, just where the railroad tracks cross. That lift station is reaching capacity, so we can't probably utilize that for a developer to connect into. It's getting to the point where we're probably looking to make upgrades to that lift station regardless, as countryside develops. So if that day comes when we feel we need to upgrade that lift station, we would probably look at upgrading to serve future ground in the northeast as well. Number 12 is the wastewater treatment upgrades. That's what we had in the past. If you remember, last year this was number 1, and now things have changed, so that project's just been put on the shelf until there's a desire to do that work. And then project 13 is the south lift station and trunk sewer. That's a larger lift station project that would open up that quarter to the south, probably for industrial development. It's a project we've been talking a little bit with LADC and with the landowner down there. I think that's a good area. If the city's gonna make an investment in infrastructure, and you have a willing seller down there, I think that's a good location to try to do some development. But again, that's to be determined. There's a lot to kind of unpack with that project. So with that's a summary of kind of the work and the projects that we're looking at over. I would say we've got program projects for the next 3-4 years. After that, it's kind of we don't know what'll come down the pipeline, when these projects might come to fruition. But we feel pretty solid on the next 3 years, the direction that we think, the city wants to head, and we should reevaluate this again probably in 3 years as we get some of those projects done and see what other projects rise.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yep.
You can hang tight up here if you wanted to, to discuss. Mr. Gibbons, do you have some questions for council or Mitch?
Yes, please.
Yeah, come on up.
Mitch might have referred to him. My question was on the Cleveland multi-use trail extension. On one of the maps that I have here, I printed out for the meeting, it looks like it starts along Highway 44 and then stays on the east side of Cleveland Avenue. And the other map I had here looked like it went across Cleveland Avenue onto property owners. So I guess I was just wondering which one is correct.
So the map in your left hand there is more just schematic. We're just trying to represent the project on the map. Our plan is to probably stay on the east side. We just think it's a better location for it, and then the ground is probably easier to get across there. And that is where we extended the box culvert was on the east side, to be able to get across there.
Instead of crossing instead of crossing over Cleveland or
Yeah.
under or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, I think staying on the east side is
Yeah.
your best bet.
Yeah, we talked about that a while back too, just staying on the east side of Long Creek.
Yeah.
And not having to cross over and
Yeah.
everything, just simplified everything.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. I think that's the correct move. The other question I had was in regard to I think it's the storm sewer. Is that going to go down the road ditch, or is it going to go down personal property?
That would go down, hopefully, the road ditch. We won't know until we survey that site, but I would anticipate we'd be on the east side again.
Because it shows here, it looks like it's on the west side, and I guess I was just curious, because it looks like it's gonna go through and dump into Long Creek, and would go through, my property, and so I was just kinda curious
Yeah,
what you had in mind.
we probably thinking the east side on that one too. It just seems like it would fit better over there. But it'll depend on, when we get a survey, we'll know what other utilities are out there. Right now, it's just a guess. But if for some reason we found that the west side would be more advantageous, we'd be visiting with property owners if that came to
And
fruition.
so then you'll work with property owners and,
Yep. Yeah, we would have, either way, if we're on the east side or the west side, we'll probably have to work with the property owners at the very least to get construction easements and those things so that we can, if we feel like we need to encroach onto the property, that we can.
so I basically can throw away this map, huh?
Well, again, that map is just to help represent the project. It's not meant to be, we're gonna be on this side or that side. It's really just a line on a paper to show that we're gonna do a project in that vicinity.
Good questions, and that will keep on top of too.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep. That's good. Questions, council, or discussion from council?
I think this is great work, and it's good to understand kind of what projects we feel need to get done. I guess my biggest question would be on timing and, funding options. If I just kind of added up 27, 28, and 29, it's like 9.5 million, 10.5 million, 8 million. So it's like 28 million over 3 years, and have a big concern of how we're gonna pay for that without drastically impacting our water bills or however else we fund it. So that's my big question of mine, is questioning that timing, and does it have to go that quick? Obviously, we'd like it to go that quick, but I don't think there's much of an appetite, at least from my point of view, of adding significant surcharges to our water bill currently. So we have to get creative on how we do it, so.
Totally agree. We can't do this too fast. We've got to plan it out and make sure that it makes the most sense for our residents. With that in mind, South Dakota DOT is widening 4417 on that run, and we've got a plan, add water there. Are we, as a ship set sail on that being a part of that project?
I don't,
Or is it not
I think
even necessary
it's
with
not
the work?
necessary. We can do that water main project after the DOT is done pretty easily.
So we wouldn't have to disrupt the roadway at all?
No.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any,
Chair, this is,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Nate.
yeah, this is Nate. Would you feel more at ease if we did?
You're kind of cutting out there, Nate.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you try to repeat that, Nate?
Could you say going back,
Something like that.
or like going, yeah. I think it was, maybe he's putting an earbud in or something.
I mean, I think he's asking, would it make sense, like in the past, the CIP had, here's how we would fund it, here would be our estimated, loan amounts, estimated grant amounts. I think there's some uncertainty of how much grants are left out there and, how much do we actually get. I like his concept of let's be flexible in how we pay for these, and I think I want that flexibility.
He said, would it be better to have some funding options? That was his question.
We need to know the impact to our residents. Because
Yeah.
really, this is all hope, but if the funding doesn't make sense, or we're putting too much on our residents too soon, it just doesn't, it's hard to say we made this plan, now we gotta stick with it, when we don't have that good feeling about how we're gonna pay for it.
And that was gonna be my question. Obviously, we don't have exact dates, but we have generalized years on a lot of these. By approving this, are we saying this is for sure gonna happen? Or, if something, that's not scheduled till 29 becomes a bigger issue, can we rearrange and?
So I would say, I'll answer for Nate maybe, but, it's a goal, right? This map is really just a goal. Any project that you do, you still have to go through a whole procedure of submitting an application for any type of funding. And that would come to you guys to vote on, and that would have, before you did that, you'd have, what is the impact here? You have to authorize us to advertise the project for bid. You have to authorize it to be awarded. So this really is just more framework, I'd say, of kind of the projects that you want to try to get done, understanding that funding is a big part of it.
That makes sense. Is there any kind of, I'm trying to understand, like, obviously these are all projects we feel are important and should get done. But what I'm trying to gather is, are these ordered in a manner of like, I'm going in to get tires for my car and are they bald or do I have 40% tread left? And, that type of thing. Like, how urgent are some of these projects and how are they prioritized that way now, or are they prioritized more in
They're probably prioritized in the way of attacking the gravel streets first.
Okay.
So that is how those first few projects are prioritized in there. Those are the areas we're targeting. We do have, we've taken care of a lot of some of the underground infrastructure for the sewer. There's still a lot of sewer issues that probably need to get done eventually. Drainage has really been leading and driving your projects in the past. Getting curb and gutter on streets, getting storm sewer to areas where it's just lacking. That's really the driver. So if you're looking at these roads, when you drive them, and they can stay gravel for a long time. There's no urgent need to pave them, but if you're tired of them being gravel, or people are tired of them being gravel, that's kind of the driver of it probably. So that's what I would say is it's really the gravel streets is driving those first few projects.
And what's underneath some of it.
Yes.
The farther north we go, the worse it gets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nate wanted to say too, he has a hard time hearing us, but he said that, he goes, I think the utility spreadsheet plays into that as well. It's nothing set in stone. Any project is subject to adequate funding, and adequate funding is a decision for the council. He says when it comes to a project off the list, it'll definitely include a funding proposal.
How often do we amend those?
You look at it every year, so we look at the infrastructure plan, just the map, and, I don't know that it always gets adopted every year, but Nate and I kind of revisit it every year and make sure the projects haven't changed. This is probably, this one here we're doing now is probably one of the more bigger changes we've done, because in the past, we were doing all the Central Basin projects. If you look back 10 years, all the projects on the map were the projects now that we've kind of gotten done, so we've kind of gone through this big phase of improvements, and we've accomplished all those goals that were in those past CIPs. And now we're really at a point where, okay, what do we do next? And that, we've kind of been spending the last year or so trying to figure that out. And that's kind of what came from his conversations with you folks, I think, and whatnot, is try to get the gravel streets addressed.
Yep, I agree with that. That came up a few times in discussion and different things.
And I think what Nate's trying to say with the rates, we'll take those projects are broken out in that cost estimate fashion so that you can take the sewer costs and put it into your rate analysis, put the water expenses in the water analysis, so that you can kind of do that math of how will this impact your rates.
Yeah, I think that would be really good to understand, and as we pick these off, how does that roll into everything? It's hard to just look at it from a 20,000-foot view and say, yeah, this looks good, without understanding those details.
And for us as staff, we'd like to just know at this stage some semblance of, okay, worst case scenario, we try to do this project in 27, 28. Let's go forward with that and then see what the impacts are. Because it's hard for us to go back to the analysis and all the rate and just say, well, we're not really sure when this project is. We kind of have to come in with a schedule so that we can apply it. Sure. And I think that's what he's kind of looking for, just, a head nod from you guys that, yeah, let's generally head this way as a goal, and then we'll come back with all the rate changes that would actually have to occur, the feasibility of it, funding wise.
Makes sense. So like the next three, I didn't have any questions on like what you had slated for the next three as far as whether we should do them or not do them. I think they're legitimate projects. I guess extending the utilities, is that always on the city to do, or is that could that be the developer plays into that as well?
For sure. I think those are more like investment projects, I think of them. There's some grant dollars out there for trying to bring industry to areas. If you were successful in acquiring some of that type of stuff, then maybe some of these one of those projects kind of come more to light.
Right.
That's why they're kind of to be determined, because they're more investment type projects that.
Makes sense. Other questions from council? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the amended CIP.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion does carry. All right, thank you, Mitch. On to 4.2, legislative position statement. Tyson?
Mayor and council, Nate put this together, kind of going through like every bill that could really pertain to the city of Lennox. He kind of gave a recommendation of what position that you guys should take on it. And just sort of as like a back-end for when he goes to peer, it's a lot of legislators have the belief that he's kind of going against maybe your guys' what you guys would want him to advocate for, and this is kind of just giving him a background to show your support. And I'm sure he'd be open for any questions on any of them if you have any.
Thank you. So there's a lot of bills here on the table. Nate's done a lot of homework for us and gave kind of analysis of it and our his position. So again, kind of reiterate what Tyson was saying, just that he's asking for council support of this as he's spending a lot of time advocating, talking to our representatives and senator from our district and speaking on behalf of us. So open this for kind of discussion, comments, thoughts with this.
How do we want to approach this? A big list. I mean, there's a lot of different themes. You know, I mean, overall, I agree with his sentiment that he's wanting local control over our jurisdiction, which I think
Right.
we're in favor, at least because I'll speak for myself, I'm in favor of that. Without being intimately knowledgeable on each of these bills, we're kind of taking his word for the interpretation of it, which, you know, gotta take that as accurate, but I'm a little hesitant to say like this interpretation is correct, or this interpretation is the intent of the bill, I don't know.
Right, bouncing his comments against South Dakota Municipal League's wrap-ups and their information rounds it out, but it's still coming from the same angle essentially.
Yep.
Impact of many of the things that have been discussed in the legislature are profound, and fortunately a lot of them have been killed because they were too drastic and dramatic and took too much, I guess, liberty away from communities. There are some things that, like a TIF district, that are critical for us to keep in place if we want to grow. And in order to have the ability to bring in a development, we need that mechanism. We don't have the coffers to just make a project happen without some form of a governmental deal like a TIF district to fund it. So I think it's imperative that we find the ones that are most relevant to where we sit, we as individuals sit, and in kind give that information to our representatives. Because it's the only way they're gonna know that we're walking with or next to our representation at this time.
I think the other thing too, which Nate has encouraged us to do our due diligence and our homework as much as we can to how does this impact our community of Lennox, but also to reach out to our legislators as well, email them, phone call, but even this past week or end of last week I had a discussion with Nate and had him explain things to me a little bit more too on one of the bills, and I'm like, what's the other side saying too? So I really appreciate Nate has spent a lot of time and homework on this, and I appreciate his advocating for City Council and for the City of Lennox too. And but just to keep, if we're unsure on a certain bill, just to try to do our own homework on it, call Nate, reach out to Representative Len Schubeck, Senator Jensen, to get their take on it too, and that way we have a little bit more fuller understanding of it too. So Nate, I do appreciate where you're going with this too, but yeah, I'm not quite sure, necessarily if you want us to have some sort of motion or action on this, Nate, or how we should move forward with this, if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay this time?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, and so a lot of these bills that we're looking at are, a number of them are not on the league briefing yet, or and may not make it, just because things are happening so quickly. I haven't talked to Sarah about that yet with the municipal league, but I have a phone call with her after this meeting tonight on another topic, so I could ask that as well. My concern is that if I can advocate as much as possible on any of these bills, but I'd prefer to do it knowing that the council has taken a stance to support or oppose those bills before I speak for the city. And if it's something where we need more time to study, but it's a lot of bills. I'll admit it takes time to get through this list. If we need 2 weeks to study that more, and if you have questions, you can call me about it, so on and so forth. Happy to talk through what the details of those bills will be.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think a little bit more time on that, if you're able to give us, more information, especially if you were to pick, I don't know if that's what the green highlighted ones, mean.
Yeah, the green highlighted ones are ones that are, that reflect the three priorities that the council, voiced in January.
So yeah, maybe as a council, we could focus on those ourselves, reach out to Nate, separately too, if it makes sense in 2 weeks to present this again, or narrow that list down or something.
I guess I know like the one like the HB 1245 is like going to vote today, so is there any other urgent ones that we need to prioritize, Nate, that you're aware of?
Well, keep on 1245, because I've got 2 calls on that schedule tonight. That was on the floor today, and we need 1 vote, and one of our reps that we're working on. So in terms of this week, I don't know that there are any more priority bills that are scheduled, but I haven't looked at the agenda for tomorrow morning yet, for the floor on the House or Senate. But for the time being, we're probably looking at mostly committee hearings, because the deadline for bills was last week. A lot of these haven't even been assigned to a committee yet. So we do have some time. There's a possibility that in between now and the next meeting, we could have, an action alert issued by the league, and we'll certainly get that out. I think the big thing, on any of the property tax, quote unquote property tax proposals, we've been neutral on most of those at this point, outside of a couple of, quite frankly, silly bills that didn't do anything to help anybody. And I think we stay neutral on those until we see what a comprehensive package looks like. Everything sort of nibbles around the edges. I think if you were at the legislative crack barrel a couple weeks ago, you heard the same from our legislators. There's really nothing that's a big home run on property tax yet. So we're just kind of waiting to see where the chips may fall on that. Local control and TIF, I think we're taking out fairly strong stances there. Basically, any TIF bill that I've seen that isn't proposed by Mr. Weisgram is an effort to just kill TIF districts for small towns. The only one that has any legs for small towns is Weisgram's bill. And on local control, there's some larger local control issues around zoning and planning discussions. But we've got a couple other local control discussions around SB3 that passed the Senate. That's the building permit one. But you'll note though that's not necessarily, that's not a game changer for us necessarily.
Sure.
The big thing from my perspective, I don't want to go back to here or back to our legislators and say, well, the city of Lenox supports this bill. I can say what it does or doesn't do for us, but without having, that's where the council's prerogative to say where we're at, and that was your agenda with the three areas of local control, TIF, property taxes. So that's where we'll spend our energy. But I want to make sure that if I'm representing an official position of the city, then we're doing it with the council blessing.
Okay. All right, thank you, Nate. everybody kind of clear on where we're at with this, or? I think the biggest thing is just to kind of, Nate, we do appreciate you keeping us informed, and if things become a priority too, to get that in front of on our radar, so we can do our homework and that too. So again, I do think it's important to keep on this, so even for the agenda in 2 weeks, if this makes sense to have something like this on here again, and we do our due diligence in doing the homework, so we can say, yes, we are agreeing on this, or whatever, we can do that then.
Mayor, I would recommend a motion to table at that point.
Motion to table.
Okay. We have a motion to table the legislative position statement from Bill. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Okay. So that is tabled, so that'll be on the agenda next, for our next meeting. That's all we have for the agenda. I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, thanks, Nate.
Thank
Rob.
you.
Get better.
Take care, guys.
See you, Rob.
Yeah.
I'm sounding like Nate got like teeth worked out.